The dirty secret of the environmental movement is because their obsession with man-made global warming on very, very hypothetical models, most of which are wrong, they now have completely bought into nuclear power. Nuclear power. And they say, oh, there's no real problem with nuclear power. Nuclear power is fine. Then they say, oh, Chernobyl only killed 36 people. Actually, it killed probably to date about 1 million people. Here we are, look, we're on the west coast of the United States. We've got spent nuclear fuel rods in a cooling pond up there in Eureka. They've lost one of the rods. I don't know where it is. We'll put it down a minute ago. Where is it? And then there you've got Diablo Canyon down below San Francisco, and then you've got San Onofre further down. You know, near millions and millions of people. These plants are always minutes away from meltdown. There they are. They're on the ring of so-called Ring of Fire, which is you know, the circle of volcanoes which goes up through Australia and up past you know, past Japan and up around Alaska and down the west coast of the United States. I told you we're scheduled for anything between a 7 and a 9 right here, all the way down the coast.
Now, can't you be for clean energy and not?
I'm all for
nuclear
clean
power?
energy. I'm all for clean energy. But what the environment say? Oh, we can't have coal, oil, natural gas. We got wind and solar, which of course doesn't meet more than about 5% of America's energy needs. The logical one is actually natural gas. You can build a natural gas plant and have it cranked up and running in a year. But they're worried about their stupid carbon footprint, again, which is fairly insane. And so they say we have to have nuclear power. You know, if you look at the amount of spent nuclear fuel rods in the United States, you've got something that would irradiate and toxify the planet if they caught fire and discharged, as the one is happening in Japan. And the place is uninhabitable for the foreseeable future. Is that a rational way of proceeding? You know, they say, oh, well, you can make it safe. Well, they always say you can make it safe. They've been saying that since day one. And what is safe? They said, oh, we built Fukushima to withstand an earthquake of 7.2, whatever it was. Well, it was a 9. Oh, dear, what an awful mistake. Very, very sorry about that. And then, well, we didn't really think there'd be a tsunami at 30 feet. We thought it was going to be 28 feet. And we built a wall 40 feet high, but the wall fell down because the tsunami was from a 9 and not from a 7.1. And the rule is that if human beings can conceive of a plan, it will go wrong at some point. Always. I mean, Murphy's law is an absolute. Same as the second law of thermodynamics. They say global warming caused by man is causing the Earth to heat up. Everybody knows, including people shivering in their knickers all over the world, that it's getting colder, and has been for about 10 years. They talk about glaciers receding here, but glaciers advancing over there. They talk about polar bears receding there. Polar bears are down here. The north cap goes, the south cap is getting bigger, so on and so forth. The global warmers, the man-made global warmers, are the greatest collection of liars in the history of the planet, in my opinion, because almost everything they say turns out to be drivel. Their models are fixed. And now you've got a vast, vast establishment of people who have a vested stake in global warming, man-made global warming, because they're paid off by the energy companies. They're into every university department's got its department of global warming. Are they suddenly going to say, whoops, we were wrong? It's like the Catholic Church in the middle of the Inquisition suddenly saying, God, this is a silly way of proceeding. You know, I mean, I think the whole thing is wrong. I don't think there's a God. You know, this is a bad way of collecting money. Let's not build St. Peter's. You know, they're not going to go into reverse. They have a commitment to bullshit. I mean, all through human history, people suddenly have a vested interest in bullshit. And that lasts 200 or 300 years. Then the weight of the bullshit gets so gigantic, usually, that they crash to the ground face down. And you say, well, another line of bullshit. Well, the global warming thing came in, guess, right after what, in the 1970s? Global cooling. Everybody was passionate for global cooling. Edward Teller, everybody. Global cooling was it. And then suddenly they shifted gears. No, ooh, global warming. And then the planet's been getting hotter and colder. Well, let's not go into the whole 9 yards, you know. I mean...
But there's no doubt that we're polluting the planet and we shouldn't do that, right?
Well, there's lots of things we shouldn't do. I quite agree with you. But why hook everything to global warming? Because that's where the money is. The money used to be in, you know, in other little schemes or big schemes to mitigate pollution. The Great Lakes, for example. the Great Lakes of the United States, you know, vast body of fresh water. People go on about, you know, global warming and the warming up. What is the problem with the Great Lakes? Agricultural runoff, pesticides, flowing torrents and torrents of it into the Great Lakes. That's not a global warming problem. That's a factor of how we do our mass industrial agriculture. So, yes, there are millions of things you can do which are finite, definite, you know, programs for reform, whether it's the Chesapeake Bay, whether it's this, or whether it's that. You know, putting scrubbers on chimneys of power plants. That's something you can do, except the power companies are extremely powerful and pay off politicians. So they stuck the catalytic converter on the passenger car because the poor old driver of the car didn't have the power of the companies. The catalytic converter actually creates sulfuric acid, which mixes with the dust, which creates pollution. But where are the scrubbers? They put them off and they put them off and they put them off. Now everything's been subsumed under global warming, man-made global warming, which is now the universal sort of solvent into which every plan is dipped and comes up with nothing. So they're doing insane things. Carbon is actually a benefit. CO2 is beneficial. You know, the planet's getting greener. That it'll recede. In the Middle Ages, in the medieval warm period, it was a level much higher than it is now, and there wasn't that thing sitting there, that diesel wagon in 1348. No, no, no. There was only a peasant dragging a cart along with his bullock. And you had very high elevated levels of CO2, and you had, because that was part of the solar cycles and all the other natural processes that have occurred many times in the planet's history. So, I think it is one of the great cases of hysteria in world history. And they're very frightening because people get completely irrational. I wrote a couple of, you know, fairly modest critiques of man-made global warming theory, and I cannot tell you, if I'd been standing there, they burned at the stake as only the beginning of it. For the first time in my life, I felt like Giordano Bruno. I suddenly realized what it was like in the Inquisition. Well, of course, now they're not going to come storming down the road, but they're very hysterical. And hysterical people are dangerous. I rest my case, because we have to go and do the fish.